if you had any doubt in your mind that the war in Ukraine has nothing to do with NATO, right? If you think that, oh, this is just because Putin, he wants to bring back the Soviet Empire or some rubbish, absolute rubbish like this, then I just want to play you a clip. This is the Secretary General of NATO himself, Stoltenberg himself, straight from the horse's mouth. Listen, just listen.
The background was that President Putin declared in the autumn of 2021, and he actually sent a draft treaty that he wanted NATO to sign to promise no more NATO enlargement. That was what he sent us. And that was a precondition for not invade Ukraine. Of course, we didn't sign that.
Oh, that makes a lot more sense.
The opposite happened. He wanted us to sign a promise never to enlarge NATO. He wanted us to remove our military infrastructure in all allies that have joined NATO since 1997, meaning half of NATO, all the Central and Eastern Europe. We should remove NATO from that part of our alliance. Introducing some...
Yeah, I wonder what is in Eastern Europe. What possibly borders Eastern Europe? Why on earth would he want that?
Kind of E and B or second-class membership. We rejected that. So he went to war to prevent more NATO close to his borders. He has got the exact opposite. Okay,
so basically he admits that everything we have been saying is correct. This whole war is about NATO enlargement. This whole war is about encircling Russia, right? What the Russians were asking of NATO was that if, for example, you have French NATO troops, that you don't bring these French NATO troops or American NATO troops or British NATO troops and put them in an Eastern European country on Russia's border. Okay, so they weren't saying like, oh, well, you should just remove Poland from NATO because that's impossible. They were just saying, we only want to see Polish troops in Poland on our border. We don't want to see American troops on our border who are in Poland under the guise of NATO. Do you understand? Which is a fair request, right? I'm pretty sure the United States would also not want to see Mexico, for example, or Canada in a military alliance with China or with Russia, and then having Russian and Chinese troops on America's border. America cannot even tolerate refugees that it created on its border, never mind Russian or Chinese troops. So every single thing that we have been saying, he just confirmed. Thank you so much. I actually love him for this. I really do. What a gentleman. What a class act. Thank you. You just told us that this whole war is your fault. You don't want to reduce NATO. You don't want to show the Russians that you have any goodwill, right? No. You insist on keeping foreign troops on Russia's borders, and you insisted on ignoring their requests for diplomatic settlement, and you caused the war. You caused the war. Thank you. Yes, thank you. You have just confirmed everything that we already knew, but it's still nice to hear it from your mouth, especially yours, because apparently when you say these things like, oh, this war is because of NATO encircling Russia, apparently this is Russian propaganda, right? This is actually what so-called academics look for when they're trying to class and categorize Russian propaganda. Like, do they blame NATO? Yes, of course we blame NATO. What else? We're talking about Teletubbies here, about McDonald's. We're talking about NATO. NATO. The Russians, when they sent these documents for a new security architecture, this is called diplomacy. You exchange and documents. You send requests. You make requests. You ask things. You try to negotiate. It's called diplomacy. And they gave them the finger. They gave Russia the finger. You started the war. This war started a long time ago. It's not just now, in autumn and winter 2021 when Russia was sending these draft agreements. No, it's a long time before that. I told you that since the 1990s, right, at the very beginning of the 90s when you had the 2+4 negotiations, so basically Russia, US, UK, France, talking about East and West Germany reuniting, and becoming one Germany again. The Russians made it very clear that they don't want NATO to expand because, half the reason that they stood in Germany for 50 years is not only to make sure the Nazis don't come back and Germany can never recover and do what it did, which is kill 27 million Russians. But they also didn't want NATO to expand any further. You know, when we're talking about the end of the Cold War and the dissolution of the Soviet Union, NATO does not have a purpose anymore. And you can see that Russia was talking about the stuff from 1997 and onwards. Okay? George Bush added several countries to NATO as well, right? Absolutely provocative. So provocative. I don't give a fuck what anyone says. When you are expanding a military alliance on Russia's borders, this is provocative. And the reverse would be true. If Russia were expanding a military alliance on America's borders, this is provocative. You are asking for a war. You are asking for war. Anyone who says otherwise should never speak about politics or geopolitics or about military matters or international affairs ever again in their lives. Never, ever, ever, ever. This is provocative. Period. 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 It doesn't matter if Putin is the president or Mickey Mouse is the president. You are provoking them. What do you want me to say? And it's not even legitimate. It's not even legitimate. It's not like, oh, the Soviet Union still exists, have to contain communism. What communism? What Soviet Union? It's gone. It's gone. Goodbye. Gone. What is the reason for this? It's just militarism. It's just, gung-ho. It's just war hawks. That's it, period. It's nothing but imperialism. Nothing, nothing, nothing.
The background was that President Putin declared in the autumn of 2021, and he actually sent a draft treaty that he wanted NATO to sign to promise no more NATO enlargement. That was what he sent us.
Yeah, what's so scandalous about this? He acts like, he sent him, Putin went to dinner and then sent him the bill or something. He's so offended. Like, that's what he sent us. Yes, absolutely. You should be happy that he sent that instead of a rocket or a cruise missile. You should be happy that he actually tried diplomacy first. Like, why are you so proud of this? You're literally admitting I am an asshole and I refuse to talk. So I basically provoked a war. Well done. Congratulations. Good job. Of course, he doesn't have to go fight it or send his sons to go fight it. He gets to dress up in his fancy little suits and walk around acting like he's some hot shot. He's really just a salesman for weapons companies. That's it. Nothing more. He's a petty little weapons salesman.